Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive deep. We got a whole stack of sources about AI and society, and wow, there's a lot to unpack here.
It's really fascinating stuff.
It is, but before we get lost in the details, I kind of want to set the stage. Like what's the big picture here? It seems like a lot of these sources are wrestling with this idea of like,
Mhm.
how do we make sure AI and human values are, kind of on the same page?
Yeah, totally. It's not just about the cool tech stuff. It's about making sure AI is actually used to benefit humanity. That's
Yeah,
a big one, right?
absolutely. Okay, so let's jump right in. One of the things that's been in the news a lot is AI and surveillance.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's a big one.
Huge, right? And we've got some sources here from like tech experts, legal folks, even ethicists. So like all sides of the story.
It's interesting, right? Because on one hand, you got all this incredible potential, right? Like AI can help with public safety, things like identifying missing persons or, even responding to emergencies faster.
Right. Like one of our sources, Elena, she teaches AI ethics, and she talks about how AI could be amazing for finding like lost children. Imagine an AI that can scan through tons of security footage and pinpoint exactly where that child is, like way faster than any human could.
Yeah. And she even talks about natural disasters too, right? AI could analyze data from drones and cameras to figure out who needs help the fastest.
That's powerful stuff.
It really is. But, there's another side to this coin, and it's something we got to talk about.
Risks, right?
Exactly. Javier, he's like a digital rights advocate, one of our sources. He's worried about this whole thing leading to constant surveillance. Like, are we going to live in a world where we're always being watched? And the sources actually talk about a case, real world example, where someone was wrongly arrested because of, a mistake with facial recognition.
Wow. Yeah, it's like a powerful tool, but it can also be misused.
Definitely. It all comes back to that balance we were talking about,
Yeah.
right? How do we get the benefits without, sacrificing our privacy and freedom?
So what are some of the solutions here? What are the sources saying?
Well, a lot of them talk about the need for strong regulations. We got to have clear rules about how this tech is used and make sure companies are being transparent about what data they're collecting and how they're using it.
Right. And making sure those rules actually protect people's rights.
Definitely. And the ethics part is huge too, right? Like building AI systems that are fair and unbiased, that's not easy.
It's not, but it's got to be a priority.
Absolutely. And it's not just on the tech companies,
Mhm.
we all have a role to play here. We got to stay informed, ask questions, and make sure our voices are heard. This is about our future, right?
Exactly. And speaking of the future, let's move on to another big question that comes up a lot. Jobs. I mean, is AI going to take away everyone's jobs?
I get asked that all the time. And it's understandable why people are worried. I mean, one of our sources, Marcus, he's a labor economist, and he talks about how, yeah, some jobs are definitely going to be lost to automation, especially in fields like, manufacturing or like customer service where things are already pretty automated.
Right. And I think some of the sources even mention that this could lead to like more income inequality.
Yeah, that's a real concern. But there's this other side to the story that we need to keep in mind. Emily, one of our sources, she works with companies on AI implementation, and she says we got to think about this as like a transformation, not just robots taking over.
Okay, so like how does that work? What's she talking about?
Well, she points out that even though some jobs will go away, AI is also creating a whole bunch of new jobs. Like think about data scientists, AI ethicists, algorithm auditors. Those didn't even exist a few years ago, you know?
That's true.
Yeah, and they're going to be super important in the future. So it's not just about doom and gloom. There's a lot of potential for growth here, but we got to be prepared for it.
Yeah, like we need to make sure people have the skills to actually do those new jobs, right?
Exactly. Education and training are going to be key. We need to make sure people have the chance to learn these new skills and adapt to this rapidly changing world.
Okay, so we talked about surveillance and jobs. Now let's get to like the really mind-bending stuff.
Yeah.
Legal personhood for AI. Like what can we actually hold AI accountable for its actions?
It's a wild concept, right? And it seems like the sources are kind of split on this one. Some experts are like, yeah, let's do it. It's the only way to make sure AI is held responsible for its decisions. But others are like, whoa, hold on. Our legal system is made for humans, not robots.
Right. I mean, it's a huge change.
Totally. Imagine if an AI system makes a mistake that harms someone, like in that self-driving car example we talked about earlier. If the AI is considered a legal person who's liable, the AI itself, the company that created it, the person using it.
Yeah, it gets complicated fast.
Super complicated. And then there are all these other questions like, would AI have to pay taxes? Could it own property? Could it vote?
Whoa, I haven't even thought about that.
Yeah, it's like we're stepping into uncharted territory here. And honestly, we don't have all the answers yet, but these are the kinds of conversations we need to be having now before things get even more
There's
complex.
a lot to think about, right? Like giving AI, the same rights as a person.
Totally. And the sources really dive into both sides of this, the pros and cons. One of the big arguments for this whole AI personhood thing is accountability, right? Like it would make it clearer who's responsible when an AI system does something, well, something that, causes harm or whatever.
Right, like in that self-driving car scenario.
Yeah.
It would make it, I guess, easier to figure out, like, legally, who's to blame if the AI makes a bad decision.
Exactly. And it could also protect, the people who actually create and use AI. Like imagine a situation where an AI system, I don't know, maybe it makes a decision that ends up costing a company a ton of money. If the AI isn't legally responsible, then the developers or the company using it, they might be on the hook, even if, they didn't directly tell the AI to do that specific thing.
That makes sense. But hold on, if we're talking about, like, rights for AI, what about, responsibilities? Like, would an AI have to pay taxes? Could it be sued? Could it even, like, own property?
Oh man, those are like the million-dollar questions, right? And to be honest, the sources don't really have clear-cut answers. It seems like if we're going to go down this road, like really give AI personhood, we'd have to completely rethink our whole legal system. Like, what rights and responsibilities would AI have, and how would those, work with existing laws that are designed for humans?
That sounds super complicated.
It is, but is legal personhood the only way to deal with these issues?
Oh, good point. What else is out there?
Well, some of the sources talk about maybe we could adapt our current legal systems, instead of this whole personhood thing. Like Anita, one of our sources, she's a corporate law expert, and she suggests that maybe we could treat AI more like, a company.
Okay, so instead of AI being a person, it's like a company, and the people involved, like the creators of the company using it, they're ultimately responsible for what it does.
Yeah, something like that. Or maybe we come up with very specific AI laws, rules that clearly say who's liable if something goes wrong, whether it's the developers, the companies selling the AI, or, the people actually using it. Maybe there could be strict safety standards, regular checks to make sure the AI is doing what it's supposed to, and
Yeah.
some way for people to, get help if they're harmed by an AI system.
So it seems like there are a lot of different options here. It's not just like a yes or no to AI personhood.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to have these conversations now. While AI is still kind of, in its early stages, we need to think about these challenges, but also, the opportunities and figure out how to make sure AI is used responsibly and ethically.
And I guess at the end of the day, it's got to be about making sure AI serves humanity,
Yeah.
not the other way around.
Absolutely. The sources are really big on that, keeping human values front and center, making sure AI systems are fair, that they're transparent, that we can, hold them accountable. And it's not just about individual people, it's about, communities, society as a whole, even the planet.
It feels like this needs like a team effort, not
Yeah.
just the tech people and the lawyers, but also like ethicists, sociologists, people who understand how society works.
I totally agree. This goes way beyond just one area of expertise. We need to bring in all sorts of different perspectives to make sure AI is developed and used in a way that, benefits everyone, not just a select few.
It's amazing, right? Like we've talked about surveillance, jobs, even like legal rights for AI. It's mind-blowing how much AI is already part of our lives.
Yeah, it really makes you think about, what the future holds. And I think what's really cool about these sources is that they emphasize that the future of AI isn't, predetermined. It's something we're all shaping right now with the choices we make.
That's a good point. Sometimes it feels like, AI is just going to take over and there's nothing we can do about it. But it really is about like how we choose to use it.
Totally. And that's why these discussions are so important. We got to think critically about, the ethics, the impact on society, and work together to make sure AI is actually, a force for good.
It's almost like, we're at this like fork in the road, right? We can either go down this path of like fear and distrust, or we can, embrace the potential of AI to actually make things better.
And the sources, they like give us a roadmap, right? They highlight all these things we need to focus on, like making sure AI is ethical, that it's fair, that it's transparent.
Right. It has to reflect like our values as a society,
Yeah.
promote things like justice and equality and, even sustainability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how some of the sources, they even ask, like, how can we use AI to solve the really big problems, like climate change, poverty, disease? Like, how can we make sure it benefits everyone, not just, a few lucky people?
Those are huge questions.
They are. And it's going to take a lot of, like, collaboration and, fresh thinking to find the answers. But, the sources do point to some key areas where we need to focus.
Okay, like what?
Well, for one, we definitely need like clear ethical guidelines and regulations for AI development, right? Things like, making sure people's data is protected, that algorithms aren't biased, and that we can actually hold AI systems accountable for what they do.
Makes sense. But those rules, they got to be adaptable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, AI is changing so fast. What works today might be totally outdated tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We also got to like invest in education,
Mm.
make sure people have the skills they need for this future where AI is everywhere. We need more people who understand STEM, who are comfortable with technology, and who are willing to keep learning throughout their lives.
And I think just as important is like making sure the public is involved in these conversations.
Absolutely. We can't just leave this to, the tech experts and the politicians. We
Mm.
all need to be talking about AI, the good, the bad, and how we want it to shape our world.
So we've covered a lot of ground today. I mean, AI and surveillance, the impact on jobs, even this wild idea of AI having legal rights. It's a lot to process. But I think the big takeaway is AI is powerful and it has the potential to, completely change the world as we know it. And it's up to us to decide if that changes for the better or, for the worse.
I think that's a great way to put it. It all comes down to, our choices, our actions, and our willingness to really engage with these big questions.
Well said. And thanks to all of you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it, insightful and maybe even a little thought-provoking. It's been a great conversation.
Yeah, it has. And remember, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and, keep imagining what the future could hold. It's not set in stone. We get to be a part of it.
Absolutely. The future isn't something that just happens to us. We create it.